Heth had her cornered until Melania flipped the script with one sentence that silenced the entire room. The studio lights are bright, casting a sharp glow on the polished glass desk between them. Melania Trump sits with the same poised elegance she's always carried here. Expression unreadable, her back straight across from her. The host leans forward lightly, a subtle smirk playing at his lips. The audience, packed into the sleek modern studio, buzzes with quiet anticipation. They know this isn't just another interview, there's tension in the air. Something unspoken but unmistakable. This isn't about policy or charity work. This is about getting a reaction. The host, a seasoned media personality with a reputation for pushing boundaries, knows exactly what his audience want. She's built a career on pressing buttons, on crafting viral moments that dominate news cycles for days into night. Melania Trump's Stargith starts with the usual pleasantries, offering her a polite smile. She thanks her for being there, Schnansons her expression giving nothing away. The conversation begins in familiar territory. Ryer work with children's causes, her thoughts on social media, her experience as First Lady. The audience listens, but they're waiting for something more. The host shifts in his seat. This body language is shifting from cordial to calculated. The shift is almost imperceptible, but Melania notices she's been in enough interviews to recognize when someone is laying the groundwork for an ambush. And then it happens, a pause, a breath as Merck, do you regret having a child with Donald? The question lands like a slap across the room, a sharp inhale from the audience, the kind of stew. Nenid silence that only comes when someone has just crossed a line. Melania doesn't react, note immediately. She blinks onto slowly, her expression frozen in something that almost looks amusement, but there's a shift in her gaze, something razor sharp beneath the surface. The host, emboldened by the silence, tilts his head, waiting. He's expecting hesitation, discomfort, maybe even anger. He's expecting weakness, but it doesn't get it, because Melania Trump is not a woman who stumbles. She exhales softly, then leans forwards lightly, just enough to let the room know she is out to speak, and when she does, every single person in that audience will feel it. But before she answers, something in the air shifts, setting the stage for a moment that noon in that studio, or watching from home, will ever forget. The silence in the studio stretches thick with expectation. It's the kind of moment that interviewers dream about, one that will be dissected, replayed, and turned into headlines by morning. The host, confident in his ability to control the narrative, leans back just slightly. His smirk deepens, almost imperceptible, but there he thinks she's won. Already Melania, however, remains still. Her expression is unreadable, but for those paying attention, something has shifted. She knows exactly what's happening. She's seen it before, this exact tactic, this exact smugness, the assumption that she's passive, that she'll hesitate, that she'll either deflect or stumble. It's a game she's watched play out countless times, whether in interviews, in press briefings, or in the relentless cycle of online commentary. But tonight it's different. This isn't just about her. This isn't just about Donald. This is about Baronin, and that changes everything. The host senses the tension, but mistakes for discomfort. That decides to press further, his voice dripping with curiosity. I mean, let's be honest there, Melania. He gestures broadly, his fingers moving through the air like he's crafting a masterpiece of manipulation. You've lived a life in the spotlight. You married one of the most polarizing figures in modern history. You've seen what it's done to your reputation, to your privacy, to your peace of mind, and then in the middle of it all, you bring a child into this world. He pauses, letting the weight of his words settle. You really have no regrets about that. The audience is still frozen, caught between morbid curiosity and sheer disbelief. They're waiting, hanging on whatever happens. Next, Melania finally moves, just as light tilt of her head. Her expression remains calm, but something in her eyes flickers, and in that moment something shifts in the studio. It's subtle, but the most perceptive in the room. Catch it immediately. The temperature feels different. The energy changes because Melania isn't the one on the defensive anymore. The host, still unaware that he's walked into own trap, opens his mouth to continue, but it doesn't get the chance, because when she finally speaks, it's in a voice so steady, so deliberate, that the air itself seems to tie. 10 around the man. Her words will be remembered long after this interview ends. Melania Trump exhales softly. Not a sigh, not a show of emotion, just a quiet, controlled release of breath. Her fingers remain still on her lap, her posture flawless. Then she speaks. Regret. She repeats the word, her accent crisp, her voice level. But there's something beneath. It's something sharp, something deliberate. The host blinks. She wasn't expecting her to echo the word back at him. He expected a reaction, a flinch, a moment of hesitation, something he could twist into weakness. But what he gets is something entirely different. Melania tilts her head, lightly studying him, not like an opponent, not like a victim, like a mother who has just heard something unforgivable. I regret, he continues, each word precise, measure that people like you think it is acceptable to disrespect a mother's love for her child. Just to get attention, the word shit like a slap the audience sharply. It's not loud, but it's there, the barely audible gasp of people who just witnessed a moment shift before their eyes. The host's smirk flickers, just for a second, but a second is all it takes. Melania doesn't look away. Her expression remains calm, but there's something unshakable in her presence now. Baron is my greatest gift. Her voice doesn't waver. He's smart, kind, independent. You may not like his father, but I will not let you use my child to score political points. The words land with a finality that cannot be undone. The host opens his mouth, but for the first time in his career, he hesitates because this isn't what he planned. This isn't the moment he envisioned. He thought she would squirm. He thought she would deflect the thought, that would be the one controlling the narrative. But now is the one under the microscope, and in that split second something in the air changes forever. But the real impact of Melania's words won't be felt until what happens next. The silence in the studio is heavy, suffocating in its intensity. The audience, previously waiting for a scandalous moment, is now watching something else entirely, something unexpected. The host shifts in his seat. This confident smirk is gone, replaced by something more uncertain, his carefully crafted moment. This viral soundbite is slipping through his fingers. This wasn't supposed to happen. He clears his throat to regain control. Melania, I wasn't. She doesn't let them finish. You were. She interjects, her voice as smooth. Glassy, you were trying to embarrass me, to make me regret my own son. Another murmur ripples through the crowd. The host's lips press together. He shifts again. This time it's not calculated. It's instinct. This uncomfortable, and everyone sees it. The power in the room has changed hands. Melania leans back slightly as if the conversation no longer requires much effort. Their face is calm, her expression composed, but there's something unmistakable in her presence. It's not anger, it's not frustration, it's victory. The host scrambling forces a chuckle, her raises a hand and surrender look. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I was just asking. Melania tilts her head lightly. Would you ask another mother that question? The words cut deep. The host the sates again, but it's too late. The audience isn't on his side anymore. Scattered applause breaks out, a few with silent claps at first, then more. It's small, but it's enough to turn the moment into something unforgettable. The host tries to laugh it off, but the damage is done. The cameras catch everything, the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes, the realization that this interview was no longer his to control. Melania doesn't look at them anymore, shed just the bracelet on her wrist, a sift board. And that's when the cameras catch something else. The host is sweating, but their real storm is coming, one that will extend far beyond this studio. The interview wraps up minutes later, but their real conversation is just beginning. As soon as the cameras cut, the host stands abruptly, exhaling sharply through his nose. He avoids looking at Melania. The control he prided himself on, gun the carefully planned moment, had disaster. Melania, on the other hand, moves with the same effortless composure. She doesn't need to bask in what just happened. She knows what's coming next, and she's right by the time she steps out of the studio. The internet is already on fire. Clips, the exchanges spread at an unstoppable speed. Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, every platform is flooded with the same moment, replayed from every possible angle. Melania Trump shuts down host after disrespectful question. Liberal host embarrasses himself trying to trap Melania Trump. Melania's most iconic moment, yet watch this exchange. The headlines explode. Supporters praise for standing her ground, calling it a masterclass in grace under pressure. Even some of her critics admit begrudgingly that she handled herself with poise and intelligence. The host, he's not so lucky. His name starts trending, but notin' the way he wanted. Host gets destroyed trying to humiliate Melania Trump. Cringe. Just cringe. Is this the most unprofessional interview ever? And it doesn't stop there. His own peers start turning on him. Other journalists weigh in, some calling his question inappropriate. Others questioning why he thought it was a good idea in the first place. The network scrambles to control the damage, issuing a lukewarm statement about fair and open discussions, but it's too late. The damage is done. Meanwhile, Melania moves on. She's not glued to the headlines, not obsessing over reactions. She doesn't have to. The moment speaks for itself. But for the host, the consequences are just beginning, because once the internet decides you've lost control of the story, there's no getting it back. Days pass, but the moment refuses to. The death clip is replayed on news programs, dissected by analysts, turned into reaction videos by influencers who break down every pause, every shift in body language, every miscalculation. The host stays quiet for a while longer than usual. When he finally addresses the situation, his response is carefully worded, almost robotic. He doesn't apologize outright, but there's something in his tone, a hesitation, a subtle acknowledgement that he miscalculated, but by then it doesn't matter. People have already made up their minds for Melania. The moment serves as our reminder, not just to her, but every person watching: never let someone else define your story. People will try. They'll paint you a certain way, manipulate the narrative, craft the version of you that best suits their agenda. But how you respond to what defines you? Melania could have ignored the question. She could have let it slide, pretended it didn't bother her, but instead she did something far more powerful. She took control, not through shouting, not through anger, but through something far more unshakable: confidence, precision, grace. And that's why this moment will not be forgotten, because when you're fused to produce to someone else's version of you, you win. If you like this story, make sure to subscribe for more powerful moments like this. Leave a comment below. What did you think of how Melania handled the situation?